Would like to call to order the January 18th meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission of the City of Olivet. Let's see, order. Commissioner Hanson.
Present.
Commissioner Rich.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Commissioner Butke.
Present.
Mr. Human.
Present.
And Commissioner Neal.
Present.
Great. Okay. There is a quorum. Councilperson. Oh, missing. City Manager Sontag. Parks and Recreation Director Tucker Knight. And Parks Assistant Director Don LaChance. We have a quorum. We'll go to the next order of business. I'd like to, let's see, where did you? Oh, that's, do we have any written communications? Right. Do we have any citizens in the online?
You do not.
Okay. Moving forward, I would like to insert comment because City Manager Sontag is here, and I think she has some things to tell us.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me kind of come into your meeting. I just wanted to let folks know that last night at the city council meeting, I tendered my resignation with the city. I am retiring. I turn 58 next month, and which makes me available for a pension. And we have been kind of working towards this so that we can move closer to grandkids. We have 5 grandkids. 4 of them are on the East Coast, 2 in Portland, Maine, 2 in Providence, Rhode Island, and then we have 1 in Amsterdam. So we'll be moving to Portland, Maine, to be closer to the kids. It is with a lot of mixed emotions that I do this. I've loved this job. I've loved the city. As I told the council last night, the council has given me the ability to kind of to lead. They've given me the vision. They knew what they wanted to have done. And I had the backing of the commission, but more importantly, I have amazing department heads. We have phenomenal staff here, and I can't tell you, I think people don't even know what they really have, because it is phenomenal. We have folks who they're, as I said, I think they're smart and they're funny and they're willing to take a chance, willing to try new things, willing to fail, and willing to take those failures and build on to our next successes. And I think we've had just a ton of successes in the last 9+ years. I can't be more proud of what we, and that includes commissioners, that includes the residents, that includes the council, that includes all staff, because nobody does this on their own, and nobody does it without being, we build on the shoulders of those who came before us, to mix a quote there. But that's what we do. And one of the things I'm most proud of is the next person who comes into this position. And I don't think you're going to have any problems filling this position, because I think Olivet is really a desirable place to be. But I think the next person, I think we're just poised for just really great things, and great things for the residents, and for the city itself. And so I wanted to come, and I wanted to thank you for all you for the time, the time you put in, your knowledge, your feedback, because it's without that real, that, you know, that's the other thing that got us here, being uncomfortable sometimes, you know, got us to having better decisions. You know, unknowing that we were sometimes going to have something controversial and talking it through and making it to the other side. That's what makes us better. So again, thank you very much. And with that. Oh, with that, I'm out of here. So yeah, so it was a very emotional day today, telling the staff, telling folks, making a few phone calls, and called Catherine at about 5:30 on my way home saying, I think I'm having a panic attack. I'm not sure if we made the right decision. And at about 6:30, I got a FaceTime call from my 8-year-old grandson who has plans for our dog Minnie, who's about 12 pounds, to be his sled dog. And so, and then you realize everything gets back in order and your priorities are back in order, and you realize I'm going to have this 8-year-old bringing me coffee in the morning. So, so thank you for that.
Thank you for all of your service and support for the commissions, and the planning that you've done with staff. It's just amazing. Rob?
Congratulations, you made it across the finish line. Hopefully we'll all follow behind. Thank you for your years of service, Barb. And I think kind of started this science experiment around the time you did as well. And yes, it's been a great trip. You are not allowed to leave unless you promise to come back for the ribbon cutting on the parks, right? Sure, yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you.
I'm there. Thank you, Barb. Okay. Moving along on the agenda. Need to approve the minutes of the December 21st meeting. I think you've had those. Are there any corrections or additions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Commission of December 21st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So ordered. Okay, the director's report, and tonight it is going to be done by Don.
Okay. A lot going on. As you have in front of you, the director's report for January and covers into December. So December 9th, we had the kids' night out over there in the community rooms. We had 10 little kiddos sign up, and they played charades, had pizza, did some coloring, and they played charades with the police, and the police officers even brought them Pokemon cards. So pretty cool experience there. Moving on to recreation programs, St. Louis County Library had to cancel their free bookmobile program, stating that staffing shortage was the reason. So hopefully if we can get that, if they can get that rectified, then we can get that back on track and get that back in as we were trying to get it. On January 13th, the department had a sold out Puzzle Palooza. 11 teams of 51 people. Each were here for 2 hours, and they raced to put together a 300-piece puzzle. And the winners got the gift certificates to the Puzzle Warehouse in Kirkwood. On 1/19, the Energy Assistance Program will be here in the community rooms from 4 to 6:30 p.m. This session, this go around, Missouri American Water will join in on the program, along with Spire and Ameren, as they have previously done before. The recreation staff has been feverishly busy adding rooms to the new community center in our booking software, Explorer. Recreation is the name of the software. So more on that as they move and plow through that. And STL Holy Festival will return to Stacy Park on March the 4th from 12 to 4 p.m. This is a co-sponsored event with Fusion STL, and it's a family-friendly event that happens every year. March 4th. Camp preview, Camp O will open its registration on January the 27th. So keep your eye out for that. Spring break camp will be March 20th through the 24th, 9 to 3 here in the community rooms. Because we're in the community rooms, we had to shift up what we usually do and bring in Mad Science Secret Agent Lab camp. So the campers get to do some fun stuff with that. Soccer camp are already booked for the year, and I have to make a correction in the first date. Challenger Soccer and Corey made a adjustment to avoid the June 19th holiday, so they shifted it to the 26th to the 30th, and that came out after we'd already went to the press with this. But then July 24th to the 28th is St. Louis Sporting Soccer Club. It's their camp. This summer, we'll also be looking at doing a Lego camp with Bricks for Kids, and along with, we've got some other camps that are in the works. We just have to get the contracts lined out to get those in. Youth sports update. Youth basketball games began January 7th. We have a total of 24 teams playing in kindergarten through second grade. Micro basketball started on January the 11th, and there are 30 kiddos in that that make up 3 teams. Youth baseball, softball registration will open on January 23rd, which is next week, and it will close on March 6th. Baseball will be held at Stacy and Warson Park, respectively. Parks and recreation staff. Yes, yeah.
What is micro basketball?
Micro basketball is the pre-K stuff.
The lower basket, smaller
Yeah,
court?
lower basket, smaller ball, smaller court.
Bubble gum. Right.
Yeah. It's not games, it's more skills and drills. There is a little bit of scrimmaging in there, but it's more like fun type games, like mass horse and pig and buckets and stuff like that. So
Thank you.
no problem. Parks and recreation staff. Yes, parks and the recreation staff cleaned out the remaining parts of the community center, which took a long 5-hour day or 5 days, 8-hour days. So we were all pretty whooped after that. So the gym, stage, and kitchen are now cleared out 100% totally. There is nothing in the building. It looks like it's the weirdest looking thing ever to see it. The abatement team should complete their portion of the job by February 3rd. I think they're still on date for that. We just recently found out on Thursday that the test that they ran on the roof. Okay, and we'll update that on the project update further down in the thing. So the old cloth covered chairs, banquet chairs that we have, we loaded up and took to Color Art to get them reupholstered on January the 17th. So division update. On January 11th, we had the help of 4 volunteers that did the prescribed tall grass prairie burn. Though the burn crew consisted of burn boss Gerald Axelbaum, his wife Ellen Axelbaum, previous part-time horticulturist and park commissioner Ed Kastner. Jim Persons was there. Staff Merle Brown, Brian Ascona, and Cody Stewart were also there. So I think they completed it in just under 3 hours. Personnel update. Cody Stewart, who is our newest park maintenance worker, successfully passed his Class B CDL license, which is a pretty amazing feat. It's not easy to pass, and he did it first try. So we're pretty proud of him for that. And he is over eagerly proud. So if you run into him, you will see him, ask him for to show his paper driver's license. He'll show you. He's pretty quick with it. Weed Warriors, we had to reschedule the one from last weekend to this coming up Saturday, due to the cold from last weekend. And then the next dates are February the 11th and March the 11th as well. Any questions? Thank you. Welcome.
I lied. I do have one question. I'm sorry. Adult softball, will we be having that? There's one commissioner looking to get on a team.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
not sure. We suspended it during the pandemic. It really depends on staff workload, if we can get it going. We should have an answer by the February Parks and
Okay.
Recreation Commission meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and more importantly is with baseball, softball also being on there, and we may have to move some things around at Warson that we're planning on using. Due to construction, it might
Right,
flow
right.
over into Stacy, which would take over some fields.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it really depends on the other thing we're concerned about. We want to put youth baseball in both Warson and Stacy. But right now we have a hesitancy to fully commit until we know demolition and construction plan and activities, because we don't want to put the kids out there if they're adjacent to the construction.
I'll keep my ears and eyes open.
You got it.
Thanks.
Yeah. But I'll let staff know you're interested. So if we get a team, I'll let you know.
Oh, excellent.
Count me in.
Okay.
Yeah, I play first base.
Do we have liability releases? Sure. Okay. Any other questions, staff? Moving on, city council report, Mr. Waldron, please.
Thank you very much. You heard the latest news and, it's been great 9 years, many things accomplished. So, when you have a family, and you have a goal and you have a spouse and you want to be there with them, it makes sense. Time is inevitable for everyone to reach that point in retirement. There's an election coming up, but there is no, there's only two people running, and it's Greg Carl and Maxine Weil. The city is going to begin its process of looking at, what we're going to do in our process for dealing with interviewing and advertising for the new position. We will be having continued meetings, and Ms. Sondag is here fully engaged until April 3rd. So we have time. Last time we did this, I was the mayor, and it took us 3 months to hire Barb, from going from the previous city manager to hiring of Ms. Sondag. So I think we're in a good window of time, and we have, like she said, good staff. So it's all good. I don't really have anything else at this time to report. This is not usually my commission, so I don't know what Maxine typically shares, so. Glad that you're
A
here.
quick question, will it be a national search?
We haven't discussed whether it'll be a national search or whether it'll be a Missouri search. And let me, in a national search, you're paying over $30,000 to look for national search. This isn't really, the place for me to say this, but we had the use of local assistance with East West Gateway when we went for the hiring of Ms. Sondag, that process, significantly less. So those are conversations that we will be having. We still have her till to April 3rd. She's a wizard, okay?
Thank you.
Got a question.
Oh,
With the potential new, or not medical, sorry, recreational marijuana distillery, or not distillery. Thank you, dispensary coming in. Obviously, previously there was a lot of excitement from the public. I haven't been to any meetings, city council meetings. How's the reception been to that overall?
People that represent CAO have come and continue to be expressive of their concerns. The city uh, the mayor, the city manager, Mr. Trejo has continued to be, in open dialogue and communications. Our ability to share that information, is even getting better, but no contention. They understand where this is. We all understand that next year they could, ask that we put something on a ballot. So, at this point in time, I think we've gotten the best that we can get in the protection of our community as it begins to embrace the fact that in 2023, I'm saying the words recreational adult marijuana usage is legal. I'm 66. I never thought that happened, but it's here. It's where we are. So not really, not as much as the odor smell factor situation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Now we'll move on to the next phase. The Parks and Recreation Commission Annual Work Plan. One of the things that we as a commission do, I think if you look behind in your packet, you look to what our duties are. We obviously sit as a commission here, but then we also advocate and help staff and help the community and become the listening post for folks in the community, as well as pushing things forward back into the community. And so the annual work plan is what is one of the major things that we do to carry out our mandate, looking at the duties from the city charter. And so it's been kind of crazy over the last couple of years because we've been focused on Prop C and there's a lot going on with that. But now it's really time for us to move toward towards getting back to where we were in terms of our advocacy and cheerleading and so forth for the parks. So I wanted to bring up tonight that whole process and what we have seen in the past year. We've looked at the support of the Parks Master Plan, which is one of the big things, and we've done construction. As we move forward, there's going to be other things that didn't get done that we're going to have to provide advice and counsel to staff and to the city council on. We have completed the park memorial policy. And I think that's going to be an ongoing effort, but because there's still, we're finding memorials throughout the parks. And I think the idea there is that we're not going to replace anything. We're not going to repair anything that's already there. And then we assisted in the development of the fees for the community center in terms of what we'll be doing with that in terms of fee waiver, facilities. And I know we went back and forth and did several different things. But those are a lot of our accomplishments for the last year. And specifically on the fees, we worked hand in glove with staff and with council to get that working along. So we'll see that, and inevitably there will be adjustments as we go throughout the coming years. But what I wanted to do tonight was I'd like to organize us in a way where we've got a couple of us doing work on specifically the middle three things on the work plan. One is the community engagement and volunteerism. And that's something we all need to do. But if we can begin to focus on that, there's a number of events. I came over for the Puzzle Palooza just to kind of see what it was, because it was something relatively new. And I had some interest in it, I would say. My daughter and daughter-in-law were there. But the, but just all of these things as we go through the years, as we have it. I know people, not everyone has time, but as we begin to move that, we have that, and we're going to have a lot of park openings and community center openings, so that there'll be a lot of effort as we move forward. Now, one thing that I would like for people to think about, and part of that engagement would be what we're calling monthly park walks. And so it would be interesting if we could make sure that all of the members of the commission, to the extent that they can, adopt a park and basically go through and just be the eyes for staff. I mean, one of the things that we have to be careful about in terms of that is that we don't say, okay, let's do this or let's do that, but we can make recommendations back to staff as far as things that we can do within the parks. And you see things, you see something, or someone talks to you about something, then to carry that along. But it's amazing to me as far as walking in the parks. I know several of you walk daily in the parks, and they're all open now. So I would be interested in terms of people that have a passion for a particular park, or that can provide feedback and so forth, so that we can have the best parks. And we find that there's not grumbling and that kind of thing. So I don't know exactly how we do that. I mean, we can do it informally in terms of which parks people want to adopt. And I guess, Beverly, if you want emails, or how do you think the best way to?
Well, my understanding from the discussion we had is that it's a task on here that would be a working group that would set, you've got some key directives that you develop. So, thanks, Don. So if you could scroll down to the next page, there we go. So monthly park walks there'd be a working group that would create a template for the visits, because again, it's not walking around doing a litany of
Right.
this needs to be edged. It's really experiencing the park, chit-chatting with people at different times of day. And if you are partnered with another commissioner, you might feel more comfortable engaging people, because sometimes people walking by themselves don't really want to say hi to people. But sometimes if you're with someone else, you can say, hi, how you doing? We noticed that a lot of times when volunteers are out either deadheading flowers or working on the edges of the trail, all of a sudden people stop and talk to them, and we hear a lot. So that's kind of a way that if you're with someone else that you can engage. And it does a couple things. It gives us insight into maybe people's motivations or what they particularly enjoy about the park, what their thoughts and feelings are about the park, and then also areas for improvement. So if the working group got together, they could create sort of a template to help people, because the first couple of times you go out there, it might feel kind of weird. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? So if you had some sort of a template and maybe some talking points, it might be easier. Then set a schedule. How often does it happen? Does it happen once a quarter? And then and when we have assigned people written there, probably would be self-select, would be commissioner self-select. But I think one of the things that Jim talked about, we talked about in developing this, is that a lot of people know their park that's closest to their house really well. So how fun would it be to partner with another commissioner and explore a park that you're not familiar with? And maybe you do two, and you could do the one by your house with someone who maybe doesn't know it, and vice versa, you go to someone else. So like, for example, not to pick on anybody, but Jim lives near Villa. He's there almost every day. Rob walks his dog regularly in Warson. So I would say the two of you are probably very familiar with the park. But if you partner with someone else to walk through the park who's never been there before, it'd be exciting for them, and you might see things through their eyes differently, because sometimes, we miss the things we see every day. But then you both know those parks so well. If you partner with someone else that knows another park really well, you get a new experience. Particularly these parks that we've opened up. So, Indian Meadows was, had everything hyper focused on one end of the park. And now we have this whole new middle section that's being engaged. And when it connects to the Greenway, it's going to open it up even further. So there's going to be wonderful opportunities for people to explore that whole park. People may think, oh, I know Indian Meadows. Took my kids there ever since they were little, but they may not know how big that park is. It's our second biggest park. If we don't count Stacy, since we don't own Stacy, but it's a hidden gem back there. So I'm really excited that the new amenities there will really draw more people to that park to experience it, because it's a wonderful park. So anyway, that's enough from me on that.
Thank you so much. And so if you're so motivated to do that, if you could let Beverly know.
Well, I would think that,
You want to do it tonight?
well, no, I'm thinking that you're going to assign people to their working groups.
No, the
So-
working group, yeah,
Right, but that happens at the commission meeting.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and you could do it at the next meeting. This is an introduction. So by next meeting, everybody could self-select themselves onto these different working groups.
So, what is the feeling of the commission? Are you prepared to go to some of these groups tonight, or would you prefer to wait until next month and give it some more thought?
From your email, we were doing it tonight.
Okay, yeah, I'm giving people an
I didn't think we had a choice.
and an
You
option.
didn't
but-
tell me
but
that
yeah.
before I read it.
Okay. So anyway, who would be interested in setting that up? Specifically the park piece, but then I think also as we look back on the other engagement and so forth, that under the 2.1 and the 3.2, we can all kind of become part of that.
And if I could also suggest, you have quite a few things in here for people to self-select. So you've got
Yeah, we
Yeah,
might go, we might go
Right.
through it, yes.
Right.
And so, okay, so I'll go through and then we can come back with that. The field rental study, I think Gon has done we've started some work on that, but we need to have a group similar to what we had for the fees for the community center to look at that. That's probably, I don't know how much time that is, but there's several things that we need to be looking at with that. Then there's the time capsule. And I believe at the last meeting, Sue and Bill expressed an interest in those two items. Is that still the case? Okay, okay. And then the really fun one is the individual park completion celebrations. And I think those will probably happen, what would you say, Beverly, late spring? That those will happen. And so we need to work with staff. We need to figure out things to set the dates. We need to also figure out, we'll look to staff in terms of budget, but what we want to spend on it. And then most importantly, that we're all there. But we will need to have a group of, couple of us that are doing that. And then, of course, we have commissioner development, and I think we are we're all members, and I think you get the magazine from the Missouri Parks and Recreation Association, and there may be other things that come up there. But I think really what we have at this point is we need to look in terms of people's interest in the setting up some of this outreach, community engagement, specifically as it relates to park feedback, and then rental fee study and time capsule, and then the park's completion celebrations. So I will open it up to people who, in terms of what you would be interested in, to help out on that.
I have a question. When you said late spring for the individual park completion celebrations, is that May?
Probably. So with the parks, one, we want to make sure it's good weather. And two, we want to make sure all the water's turned on and has been tested. So the new splash pad at Villa will have to be, the valves will be installed for the first time and they'll do all the pressure tests and get it going. So we'd want to schedule Villa after that to make sure that we can celebrate that. Same with Indian Meadows. That one has been tested and water's flowed through it, but it'll have to have its first spring turn on. And then Irvside, we're really waiting. That's really dependent on when that grass grows for the dog park, because we really don't want to open that early and then lose all that work. So so I'd say that the conditions of the parks will inform the dates that are selected, but I think probably May is much more realistic for that.
I would like to assign myself, with self-selecting, is that correct? So
Unless we don't get volunteers.
I would like to select the third one, the field rental fee study, and then the fifth one, the park completion celebration.
Others?
Hey, this is Travis. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. I'd like to self-select into the fifth one, individual park celebration.
I would like to help with the template in the parks. I would be glad to do that, and I can also help with the park celebration.
That's what and five, which one and five?
0.3.
2.3 and 5.
2.3. I can do 2.3.1, and I can go to the park too.
Right. Okay.
I do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to get tasked to go visit the park.
No,
Kind of
it's
a nice
kind
job
of-
to do.
I think I would be interested in the park walks and the celebrations.
Oh, there's a caveat to that. The working group for the celebrations, if it exceeds 3 members, then those meetings will be public meetings and the agendas will be posted. And I don't think there's any problem with that, particularly now that we have Zoom. But just be aware that if you exceed 3 on that working group, then it becomes,
I will remove myself from that
Oh,
to bring
but
it.
it's okay. I mean, it's not a problem. We can totally do that. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
So does that mean we have to put out agendas and?
You'd
all
have to,
that?
we put out an agenda and then you'd have to have a quorum or you.
I'll
would
I'll
not-
remove, I will.
Okay.
Actually, before you do that question, would it make sense rather than having one bigger group breaking into subgroups for 1 or 2 parks?
You absolutely could do that. So like, for example, Stacy's larger, it might be a larger event at Stacy. So that could be more people. So you absolutely could do that. My recommendation would be have an initial meeting, kind of figure out what you're doing, and then maybe each one of the
Break it
people that
apart.
sign up, maybe self-select a park and then build a working group for that. That's a great suggestion.
Great.
So I'll self-select for number 5.
Okay.
Good enough for that. And then also for walking for 2.3, I don't know, we need multiple people creating a template. So I think we're good there. And how many people, or where are we at with number 3? Donnie, you're scaring people away.
One.
We have one,
We
we
have
have
one.
Keisha.
And then I'll, number 3 as well.
Okay.
Rob Hoyerman will organize, help with the Worson Park celebration in number 5, and then can help with the field rental study in number 3.
What it looks like at this point is that the individual park completion celebrations that working on the suggestion of Beverly, that we will probably meet as a committee of the whole. And then we'll organize that way so so it makes it a little more streamlined.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one thing that might work really well is everyone comes together for that first meeting. And then as you self-select to the parks, then those can go off work and meet and have their meetings and then come back and report to the larger group. It would make it really easy. So I think, and then I'll just post those agendas. It's no problem at all.
And are there any rules that we can do at least that initial meeting via Zoom or?
You could do the initial meeting via Zoom, but I can tell you what we've discovered in a lot of the work on the park projects is that when we left Zoom and came together, we were much more efficient. Decisions
Okay,
were made
okay.
much faster. There's some sort of synergy that happens when people are in person.
And probably what I would do is send out a doodle or something that we
Mhm.
can pick 2 or 3 different
Yeah.
times and see what works for
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, I am gratified in terms of people's response to this, and I think we can move forward with the with this.
I've got a question
Yes, sir.
on section 5.
Mhm.
I don't know if I've missed it, or we just haven't had many or any. But opportunities like, or 5.2 and 5.3 for the attending training and special promotion or not promotions.
No,
appreciation.
Yeah, training opportunities through MPRA were curtailed during the pandemic and they're slowly coming back. So they've started bringing back ones for staff. Because of the construction and where we thought we were going to be, we did not budget for anyone to attend the state conference this year because we really thought we were going to be opening the community center.
Mhm.
So there was a local mini conference for the district and that was for staff only. So if anything comes up for commissioners, we'll absolutely share that with you. Oftentimes I send out webinars for people to attend. Last year we had several through City Parks Alliance. Some of those were very good. So I'll continue to do that. If you are not receiving emails from MPRA, please let me know.
Yeah, I am.
Okay,
Receiving
good.
those.
Yeah.
Great. So you get what we get. And then sometimes I belong to the national and I forward out things from that as well. Sometimes the national has things specifically for commissioners. So I will keep looking at that. And if there's ever something on the national site that you want, but it's behind the paywall, I can get it for you. So I strongly encourage you to read their magazine that I believe is always free in front of the paywall. And then you can, if something piques your interest and you go for more details, they have a lot of trainings, a lot of books and materials in there, and I can absolutely get you access to that.
Thank you.
And they also have a podcast that Jim follows.
yeah,
That's
I will.
wonderful.
Yeah, there's a podcast, the national group has a podcast and I mean, if you just put in MPRA, I don't know the exact name of it. but-
NRPA.
Or-
So the state one is Missouri Parks and Recreation Association, MPRA. The national is NRPA, which is National Recreation and Parks Association. And the one we recently joined that's younger and is really dynamic is City Parks Alliance. And they actually, they do things all over the United States. They oftentimes focus more on urban parks and accessibility. However, they are coming to St. Louis for a walk and talk. And as soon as I get the dates, I've signed up to be notified of that in advance. I will send that to all of you. They are much pricier than the national, I think probably because they have less members, but they are doing a lot of research and they have a very strong board. So I strongly encourage all of you to look at that. There's great resources in there.
And I will share with the commission the title of the podcast.
Yeah.
but-
We'll put all of that in the minutes and then I'll send out an email to all of you so you have the direct links.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask a question? And please forgive me, but this happens because I am my mother's daughter. If we could look here under the goals, it says 5 individual park completion, and then it says 5 commission development. Everything else is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. Should this goal be goal number 6,
Yeah.
6.1,
Yeah.
6.2?
Thank you, thank
6.3?
you, thank you. It's,
Please tell Barb it will continue even after she's gone.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that because this is an Excel document inside of Word and that is my error. So thanks for pointing that out. I did not notice that.
Yeah.
And especially because it's on the next.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let us move along. And I believe Park Master Plan implementation, which is the fun part of what we're doing right now. So Beverly.
Absolutely. I will wait for Dawn to pull that up for me. So I just want to remind you that when you see these dashboards, they're about 30 days behind because these are the ones that we get the beginning of the month. So these actually have already gone to council. But I do want to let you know what happened last Friday. So as you all know, the old community center is being abated from asbestos right now. And what's fascinating about that building is that when it was initially tested, and Missy, I'm glad you're here because you can confirm that I have my dates correctly. I believe the initial testing of that building was around 2004, and they found pretty much no asbestos, which people were surprised about. Well, technology has improved. So the next time there was an official testing that was done, I believe was again 2014. And then they found asbestos in the mastic of the tiles and a little bit in the some of the acoustical tiles, but that was about it. Then when we tested again, knowing that we were going to be building the new community center, we brought in the latest technology and they found it, as you all know, throughout the building. However, we still thought that the roof itself would be demolished as part of the demolition of the entire building. There was asbestos identified in the old roof lining, but the amount was kind of negligible from that testing. So the thought was that when Spurtis, which is the company that's going to demolish the community center, the roof pieces would be put in a separate dumpster and disposed of. However, as the abatement is going on now, and they've opened up more and more areas, they can get better access to that original roof lining, and they found it's very hot. So hot that it cannot be removed by Spurtis. It's against code to do that. So what's happening now is it has to be abated by hand, constantly sprayed down with water to prevent any of the fibers getting airborne. And it's very laborious. So on Friday, the city council came in at a special session and approved an increase to the project of $80,000 just for the roof. So it has to be done. We're over a barrel. However, we know that it's going to be a little bit, we know the project's going to cost more than we initially planned. However, we've had some benefits to the economy with increases in our interest. We have a large amount of money sitting out gathering interest, which has definitely helped us out. So although the project will go over budget, we have the funds to take care of that. So, and Missy's here, so she can answer any of your questions.
And if I could just add, it was 88,000, but we already had $20,000 savings
Yes.
from their not going and doing a certain level of demolition in the area that they have to now go back
Right.
and do it because it's hot and live. So overall, right now, we're looking at that cost value difference being around $50,000 more into the
Right.
project.
So originally we budgeted $100,000 for the project. The initial abatement RFP that went out, we accepted a bid that was significantly lower. We've already done an add-on to that and now with the additional add-on. So instead of being $200,000, it's $150,000. So we've had some savings on it, but it's still a bitter pill. And thank you for correcting me. It's 88,000.
What's the effect on the timeline?
It will delay the abatement by about a week is our understanding. And then the demo we have next week on Tuesday, we have the pre-demolition meeting with Spurtis. So we'll be there. I'm very interested in finding out where they're doing their laydowns on all of that. We've closed the driveway to come into the old community center site The exit is still open for two-way traffic. The city manager's been working with the superintendent to make sure the buses change their routes. Some of the buses changed their routes when abatement started. Some were still coming in. And so we've reminded them, please do not come in. People can still use the front lot. That's clean. It's open. Anyone can go in there, but the back lot's going to get filled more and more and more with things. Yeah. So, for the rest, for the other parts, for the maintenance building, the park operations building, it's very exciting because we received temporary occupancy permit last Friday. So we're poised to move in. We're waiting for them to finish a little cleaning. It probably won't be to our standards. We'll probably do some more cleaning once we move in there. But they're putting up the toilet amenities, and then the crews will start moving the stuff in. And Dawn worked hard, did an RFP and got us, did quotes and got the pallet racks that are going in. We've ordered new shelving, new workbench. And right now our poor unhoused park crew is very excited because they are, they're coming in here, they're using Stacy anywhere to, when it's raining right now, it really stinks. So, but you can see inside, it looks absolutely beautiful. The amazing thing is the light and the heat. They are so happy with the heat. It's wonderful. So for those of you that are unaware, our parks crew for decades used an old residential house in Warson Park that should have been condemned. It had horrible problems, a very old building, and it had raccoons and possums, and we had to turn off the water. We had to turn off the phone. It was brutal. So I'm so happy that they get a state-of-the-art facility to work in. And it just breaks my heart that Leonard retired before this opens, but he will be back. He will absolutely be back. Yeah. So then the staff, the Parks and Recreation staff, all of us walked through the new community center last Friday. And I'm happy to report the window frames were going up. They had glass on site. They've got heaters up in there with the temporary heat. Several large sections of the electrical panels have come in, which was really exciting to see that, because as you all remember, that was our huge delay, is as with everybody's, those electrical panels and components and computer boards. So it was fantastic to see that. They're not all there, but it gave me hope that they're going to make it. There's interior walls going up. So I'd like us to schedule probably the end of January, beginning of February, another walkthrough for all of you, because it's amazing now to see how fast it's going. So I'll send out a doodle poll to get you all in there. It is really exciting. But it's nowhere near completion. But what's gratifying is now you can really see a difference from visit to visit. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that before I go to the parks.
One quick question in the what are we calling this? The maintenance,
The park operations
the
center.
operations
Yes.
building. Is there Wi-Fi in that building?
There is not Wi-Fi in that building, but well, there may be. No, there's not now, but we're working on something. But the crew all have iPhones with Wi-Fi through cellular. So they use all the software through their phones.
Okay, so they
Yeah.
wouldn't have a need for computers and things of that nature.
They won't.
there?
Well, they may have some tablets or Surface Pros as we get I have a vision that we haven't funded yet of having software for them for tracking all their projects.
Right.
So when that comes along, we may have to add it at that point, but right now everything's working great over cellular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cameras, security, safety locks on that stuff, that building?
Well, we definitely have a security system for this building. We have keypads on there. We have motion sensor lights, which is the number one thing that the police department recommends we use rather than static lights. And everything's locked up. So yeah, we have been incredibly fortunate with our parks crew, even with all the stuff stored outside. Since I've been here, we've had one theft, and it was a pump, and someone really wanted it because they sawed it off the back of the vehicle. But other than that, we are very fortunate. We have residents all around there, and it's a very safe location.
And will any of the lighting on the building interfere with a possible dark sky?
No,
Wharton.
both the park operations building and the new community center were built to the specifications of the International Dark Sky. So we will be going for certification of Warson once everything's completed. Hopefully we can get our neighbors on board to, they can do the same at their homes. That would be wonderful. Okay, so looking at the parks, we are, as you are well aware, we're at substantial completion with all of the parks except Warson, because Warson's coupled with the community center project. However, there are still tasks that have to be done in the spring. So some of we have a punch list that was completed for the parks, and some of the things, just out of curiosity, has everybody been to Earthside? Yeah. It is a remarkable transformation. We have been receiving a lot of compliments on that. And I use Old Bonham to go into U City back and forth, come through there. And it still surprises me when I'm driving west on Old Bonham, because it just looks so wonderful. And those plants are all dormant right now. So I can't imagine what it's going to look like in the spring. I'm very excited. At Stacy, the new dry creek that was added onto the project is complete. That's what you see. There's actually a picture of it here. That is what we added once we figured out how efficient the giant stormwater retention basin was. We put in this dry stream bed to slow down the water to prevent it eroding away, because if any of you saw it during the storms, it was actually a waterfall. It was pretty exciting. And it filled to the brim. So we've taken care of that. It's very, very good. The sidewalks, crossings to the school were completed. The gates are all in. So the only big task that we're really waiting on will be the water testing, water valves and everything in the spring. That's it's not a hugely laborious process, but it's very technical. So we're excited about that. We noticed already that the storm was not kind to the ADA parking stalls at Stacy. So they're under warranty. The contractor is calling out the vendor to repaint those. So we're excited about that. Staff is figuring out when we can start pulling up the mesh of the new grass. So there's mesh in all the parks. It's not safe to walk on. We've put out signs to ask people not to walk on it. They're still walking in it. At some point, people have to be their own guardians, but we really aren't sure if we pull it up early, if it's going to damage anything. So Brian, our horticulturalist, is doing some research on that, talking to a couple of growers to figure out when we can do that. The dog park, we will absolutely leave in until the very last minute. And then there's something else I was going to share about the parks. I don't remember what it was. Oh, we will be doing an RFP for the park signs. So the park signs were not part of, they're funded as a capital project, but they're not part of the contract for the contractor. So we'll be putting out an RFP. And when we did the wayfinding for the city and established the design for the park signs, the community center was not a concept, we weren't working on a community center yet. So that RFP will include the process for creating the monument sign for the front of the new for Five Oaks on Warson. So that will be a sign on Warson Road. It will be illuminated, but it will not be a message board. And it'll also be IDA certified. And that will be a little bit longer process because we have to go through county. So we're gearing up to get that RFP out and released as soon as possible, so we can have a sign when we open. And fingers crossed, it'll go smoothly through the county. So,
Question.
yes,
You said IDA certified?
yes,
What
that's
is that?
International Dark Sky. So
Okay.
Stacy Park was the 4th urban dark sky designated area in the world. And we received that designation through the International Dark Sky Association.
So project on we talked about the overage due to the unforeseen asbestos.
Yes.
Do those dollars show up here in the contingencies and allowances?
No, they don't, because this is from January 9th.
Gotcha. So.
So will be another big update to the council, and I'll make sure all of you get that.
So
Yeah.
we're probably looking at 140, 150 over. Maybe you said that. missed that.
I'm hesitant to say because I have not seen it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I haven't seen the latest one.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the other thing that happens too is there's so many other funds that come in. We have grant funds, we have federal dollars, we have all sorts of other things in addition to the bond, plus the interest. So I would be remiss if I tried to make a stab at it without paperwork.
I have a quick question with regards to, and I haven't heard anything about this in a while, but the dog park partnership collaboration with the county animal, and I know that the change of hands, how has that affected that, or is that still a thing?
Well, that's a vision item in the plans, and we hope to do it. The last time we reached out to the person that was in charge of the county shelter, they had no idea what I was talking about. So something happened. I'm probably the county reallocated that money. They had quite an upset over there. I don't know if you read in the papers about all the volunteers getting fired and all of that. So now APA is running it, but I don't know, in the long run, we may go for the grants ourselves. I mean, that could be a good project for us to go through with the county through the municipal grants. But when we open up the park master plan in 2023 to do the 5-year update, that's a perfect time for us to make sure, that's that time we look at the plan, we acknowledge what we've completed, and then we have some public meetings to make sure that all of those vision items are still what people want, or if there's anything that's changed significantly in that time. And I know this commission, the last time we talked about that when we were going through the master plan of Warson, one of the things the commissioners identified is they did not want to add that parking lot on the west side of Warson. So that'll be something we address. The dog park will be something we address. There's no water interactive element at Irvside. So we'll find out, is that what people still want to do? We also have, the commission has the desire to have the fully accessible, ADA accessible playground at Warson Park. So we'll readdress that. Is that still a priority? Because that one that we could definitely go for federal funding on. So a lot of that'll happen in the next year. My recommendation for that is to do it in the summer of next fiscal year and not right after we've opened the new community center. Let things settle out, let people use the parks, and then do it that following summer, because the fiscal year goes July 1 to June 30.
Beverly, I know that it's not part of the Prop C parks, but Veterans Park up here, where
Yes.
does that enter into the process? I saw the flagpole has been.
Yes. So,
installed.
yeah. So veterans.
What's the story on?
Right.
veterans?
So the first thing I want to reiterate is we don't call it Veterans Park because it's an easement. It's not a park. It's not classified as a park. So we've changed the labeling of it on all the city documents to veterans, just veterans, or Veterans Plaza. That is, the city has still not accepted that project from the contractor because there are things that have to be completed. So they did install the flagpole, but it's not illuminated. Probably we will install the same solar light on it that we have at Warson. The rock cascade is in, but they have to get power to that. And they learned, I think a month and a half or 2 months ago, that because the power pole was relocated to the other side of the street, Ameren will not supply power to it without a new pole. But the whole point was getting the pole out of the garden. So they will be installing a solar source for that rock cascade. They still have to remove all that fiber, all the bark and stuff that they put in the Olivet and Bloom bed that they were not supposed to do. So they'll be removing that. Then we'll be putting in Parky mix with for Olivet and Bloom, and they'll start planting. So Olivet and Bloom is scheduled to have their kickoff in April, and then they will start planting out there. So Carlos is working diligently to get the contractor to finish the job. And I'm just so happy that's not part of the park project.
And so will Veterans Plaza or whatever, will that be under the purview of of Parks and Recreation, or will be under under
Right.
Public Works?
No, it'll be Parks and Recreation, but Firestone does part of it and we do part of it and Olivet and Bloom does part of it. So it'll be a learning curve, I assume, as we go through to see who exactly does what. So there's mowing that has to happen on the Firestone side. There's weeding that has to happen on our side. There's trash pickup. We're still figuring out exactly who's doing what. There is a strongly written agreement, but we all know that it may be we empty the trash maybe once a week and they do it once a week. We may not be happy with the frequency because of McDonald's. So I'm sure it'll be, we'll figure it out as we go along.
But Parks and Recreation is coordinating that? I mean,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, and we work with Olivet and Bloom for that. I remembered what I was going to share about the parks. Olivet and Bloom had their board meeting last week. They've allocated funds for all their gardens. They will be installing the new garden at Stacy in the spring. They are calling that now their Stacy Welcome Garden, Stacy Park Welcome Garden. They're going to continue working at the pond. So they're now calling that on their website the Stacy Park Pond Garden to differentiate the two for the volunteer groups. They have a board member who's very interested in volunteering on weekdays because she can no longer do the weekends. So they're going to do some test piloting of weekday volunteer days. They voted to approve a funding donation to the new native plant garden in the front of Five Oaks on Warson, and they will help install that. Because that was one of our value engineerings is we took that garden out of the plan for us to do with volunteers. And they have absolutely committed to that and given us money towards that. And then they funded veterans, and then their native plant sale will be here again. And that's in April. Yeah. They really want us to move the sculpture at Stacy. They'd like it to move across the parking lot for a variety of reasons. So I'm looking at that. We're analyzing that. And we have to talk to Lohmeyer Sculpture Park to see if that's acceptable to them. They have a lot of good points. As you all know, it's not a play structure, yet it looks like a play structure. So over the years, we've planted bushes around that to deter children from climbing on it, which has worked. But now there's a path right next to it. And the landscaping area has really decreased. So they would prefer that it just moves out of there. And I think I think that might be a great idea. We'll really look at that. We did not look at that as part of the plan. When that sculpture was installed, the city put in the concrete pad and Lohmeyer brought in the sculpture and it requires a crane. So to move it, we would build another pad, which is very simple for us. But renting a crane is very expensive and Lohmeyer would have to approve us moving it. We have a 25-year lease, free lease, but 25-year agreement for that sculpture to be there. Yeah. So, it's an ongoing process. As you all know, our park master plan is never complete.
How many years into the 25 are we?
I think we're 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Beverly, is that the Trova we're talking about?
The Trova, yes, the Trova, Ernest Trova. Yeah. And it's all the information on that sculpture is on our website. It's on the Stacy Park website. There's a link to it if you want to read a little bit more about that actual sculpture.
And related to all that, talking about the easeway, I'm going to call it the wrong thing. The path from Dealman that goes kind of almost all the way to Stacy
Oh, yeah, we call it the pathway.
is okay. Well,
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, then I would guess right.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's under parks. I didn't hear us talk about that or.
It is under parks. It's owned by the city of St. Louis.
Okay.
And we put the pathway in with a grant. And Weed Warriors has had 2 work sessions on it this year, and we've cleared a lot of honeysuckle. And then we had volunteers that came in after the MSD work to clear out more honeysuckle. So it's looking really good right now. We do have some debris out there from our last Weed Warrior Day. We haven't been able to get it, but we'll get it. So we do minimal work out there, but it is ours, and we put benches along there.
And collect trash.
And yes, that's right. We put out the dog pots and we collect the trash. Absolutely.
Other questions? Okay, we've talked about future agenda. what we're doing. So we'll get back and get the work plan going. As I'm looking at the upcoming dates, the one that we haven't really talked about tonight are the February 4th and the February 12th of the Mosaic Project. And that's going to be the tiles. I mean, you know, the tiles out in the hallway here, but it's going to be a different kind of a thing, but it's the thing that will be on the wall, the seating wall at Stacy.
Yes, and when we put out live to the public, it sold out immediately. It's free, but you had to sign up for it. So we're going through the list because it looks like some families signed up for multiple times and they didn't need to do that. So we working with Lisa Roth to kind of clean that up and open up because we have quite a waiting list. And then there's also an opportunity for commissioners and the council to paint tiles as well. So we'll send a doodle poll out for that. It needs to be collaborative. We won't have enough tiles for every commissioner to do a tile, but we'll certainly have at least one for the commission to do together as a team building, or perhaps two. So that would be pretty exciting. And then same with the council. And then we're going to hit staff in there. It'd be really nice if staff did some as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
we'll
sold,
send
but
another.
it's
doodle
sold
poll.
out. How many tiles are going to be in that?
Well, I know we had an initial count, and then Lisa went out because I'll explain the process quickly. So Lisa made tiles specifically for it and fired them the first time. And then she's gone out and started piecing them in to just see how many. Originally, we thought we had 120. We may have a little bit more than that. More than that tile wise. Am I saying the right number? Yeah. Yeah. So some of them maybe, just like this, they'll be irregular. It won't look like a brick. They'll be irregular pieces. And then we have inspirational photos on the website from the parks for people to kind of help, because the theme is the natural beauty of Olivet's parks. And then we'll have some pictures up, inspiration around the room. And then Lisa's going to go around and kind of talk to people, show them, search on your phone for different things. But the pictures we put up around the room will absolutely be from our parks. And then International Dark Sky, when we did our annual report this year, one of the questions on the annual report is, do you have a public art project in your park that celebrates the sky? And I said, yes, we have one coming. So we'll have at least one tile that will have will be a night sky tile. But I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to look fantastic.
From a commission standpoint, do we need to get together before one of these dates, or do we do that kind of as we're there?
I think it's very organic if you do it while you're there. There's 7 people on the commission, so maybe we could do 2. And there's a Saturday date and a Sunday date. So we do the doodle poll. Maybe that's how we kind of self-select is who's available which day.
And so staff will coordinate that with us.
We
Okay,
will.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't want you guys to have to go into the website and try and book it, because that would, take a spot from someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We'll
That-
get you in.
that
Yeah.
is all
Safer council.
that I see on the agenda. I will entertain a motion for adjournment. I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Did Travis say no?
Did you say?
No, I said aye.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
Well, we'll turn it all over to you. Thank you all.